Hey folks, Twisha Christian here. Today I want to bring you guys some prophetic words concerning the oil industry, what's going to happen with Texas oil and European gas prices. Now first folks, before I get into this, I'm not a financial advisor. I am just bringing information and giving you my thoughts and my opinion on that information. And if you guys like these videos that I make, the support links are down below in the description and also the about section of YouTube. And if you guys do sign up through the Patreon, you do have access to the Discord, which I currently have right here, where we actually discuss a lot of these different prophetic words. And there are all these different channels that you can talk and review a lot of the information that's being posted there. Just like the Bitcoin buy limit orders. We talked about that. We talk about that quite often. And then what I'm getting ready to talk about today, there is a channel dedicated to oil prophecy and what's going on with oil. So if you guys want to access that, you go through the Patreon and access your benefits and then sign up for the Discord. For me, it's a lot easier to look at this information on your desktop. I do have it on my phone, which is really difficult for me to see. So it's always easier for me to be on the desktop version of Discord, which you can either download it as an app or you could just access it through the Google web browser. In my last video that I did about oil, I shared a prophetic dream on oil stocks and also to Zion Oil. And that came from Apostle Lisa Graves, where she talked about becoming a multimillionaire. Other people become multimillionaires after they had struck oil. There was no company that was specifically mentioned in this, but it just goes to show that what God is showing people as far as what's getting ready to happen in the oil industry. And then I also did share this particular video on the Patreon, this guy walking journey back from November 30th of 2021, where you saw $9 a gallon gas, right? Inflation dream vision prophecy. So we saw a gallon of gas at $9 per gallon. And he actually lives in, I believe he actually lives in Texas. And so I'm putting this all together so that you guys can get a full picture of what people are seeing in the prophetic. All right, so the main prophecies that I'm getting ready to share with you actually come from Christopher Harris. And he says some things that shows us that, natural gas, oil is going to go up dramatically. I'm looking at these companies that specifically deal with Texas oil, and I'll get into that prophetic word. But I'm going to go ahead and go over the first one because this deals with Putin's gas price and what he's trying to do as far as natural gas. So the first one comes from March 14th, 2022. And he says here, "Then I received in a dream Putin's gas price 500. I looked up the main European gas price and it was at 131 euros after a recent high of 225 euros. So I expect this to spike over 500 euros. And we can look what he was referring to as it reaching a high. So right here I have the EU natural gas. Back on March the 7th, it reached a high of 227. So for that to spike up to 500, that's more than 4 times of where the price is at right now, which is 108 euros at this time. So for it to jump up from 108 to 500, a lot of drastic things would have taken place. So looking at this article, Putin wants the West to defeat the purpose of its own sanctions. In this article, it says Putin is insisting that 48 hostile nations, the US, the UK, and the EU, members among them, pay for Russian gas in rubles. The demand is more than a provocation. It's a strategy to force the West to dilute the effects of its own sanctions on Moscow. Okay, so what he's trying to do is trying to force all these countries to pay for natural gas. It says, how will the West acquire rubles to pay for Russian gas? As yet, most of these hostile nations buying Russian energy have few options but to continue their purchases. To make payments in rubles, these gas purchasers will have to buy the currency first, either from the Central Bank of Russia or the foreign exchange market. If the demand for rubles steadily increases as a result, the drastic fall in the currency's value will halt and even reverse. After Putin made his announcement, the ruble gained 7% against the dollar. All right, so we see his plan here is in effect of what he's trying to do. And this was published on March 24th, 2022. This particular prophetic word was on the 14th of March. So it sounds like that's in line with what is about to happen. All right, so for those of you who do stay in Europe and in other places, keep in mind that these gas prices, natural gas is going up. So I don't know how maybe your home is heated, but that's just something to think about and to prepare yourself for these moments. And then on the 23rd of March, Christopher, he shares another dream. I had a dream and I saw a person who picked up another person and they merged together. And I knew it represented a partnership. And it was Italy, oil, Texas. And I received about EU oil. I believe this dream could be about Texas supplying the EU oil and possibly increasing their production as the EU imports a quarter of their oil from Russia. Texas is already the highest oil producing state in the United States. So here we have a prophetic word. Probably more than likely, Italy might be the first country, but there's going to be some type of an agreement between Italy and Texas and maybe other EU members getting oil and maybe even natural gas from Texas. And I'm going to get into that. I'm going to share some of the Texas oil companies that I put a list together just to see which I felt like were the best options to invest in. All right. Then on the 25th of March, he says here, I also received the message, $200 oil. This is very high. All-time high is 147. I also received the date 7 April. I don't know what this is about. I prayed to ask what it was about, but did not receive any further information. Please seek the Lord Jesus Christ. God bless, Christopher. All right, so now he's saying that oil is going to be up to $200 per barrel. And if we currently look at the price of oil right now, we can see West Texas. We can see WTI crude, $104 per barrel. Brent crude, $110. All right, Louisiana light, $117. Bonnie light, $120. OPEC basket, $116. All right, so right here I have pulled up this document that deals with most of the oil companies in Texas, right? I did some thorough research and I also asked some questions. And also on this list, we have some non-Texas oil companies because in that one prophetic dream that Apostle Lisa Grace was talking about striking oil, that could actually be any of these companies that are actually drilling for oil. And it could also mean maybe EENF, 88 Energy Limited, and also Zion Oil. I do think that as we do get closer to what Zion Oil is getting ready to do, I do believe that we will receive some more prophetic words than what we have received up to date. So now, folks, before you get into investing into any of these companies, right, we already know that oil companies, they're very volatile. I have prices here as of March the 24th. And that actually has changed. Some of these have actually gone down. We look at Camber Energy. I think that's around 84 cents right now. And U.S. Well Services, it shows $1.23. But looking at the current price today, it's actually at 112, and it's down $2.17 over the past 6 months. All right, and it's based out of Houston, Texas. Did a bunch of research. These are the main companies that I am investing in as far as concerning the Texas oil prophecies. There's some other stocks that I have down here too as well on that in the long term. So we have Camber Energy, CEI. Many of you already know I talked about CEI a long time ago. And a lot of you, when I first mentioned it, like, I don't know, maybe a couple years ago, I had people tell me and email me that they made a lot of money off that on that first rip a long time ago. And then we have U.S. Well Services, Houston American Energy Company, U.S. Energy Corp, and Viking Energy Group. It's an OTC. It's owned by CEI, but when it moves, it usually has sympathy movement from CEI. So just think about that before you invest and do your research. And then we have the Permian Basin Royalty Trust. And the Permian Basin Royalty Trust is a United States oil and natural gas royalty trust based in Dallas, Texas, with a market capitalization of $790 million and an average daily trading volume of 186,000 shares at the end of 2007. It was one of the largest royalty trusts in the United States. Currently, it is at $13.65. So actually, all these stocks have actually gone down some. But that was something I also prayed for, because when we first started getting these words, Camber, U.S. Well Service, all these stocks were actually up a lot. And so I said, well, God, if you're showing this to us, they have to come down for us to be able to invest in. We don't want to invest in these companies if they're already at a peak. So I just prayed that the stock prices of these companies would actually go down. So then we have the non-Texas oil companies, Triple ENF, that's 88 Energy Limited, IMPP, Grand Terra Energy, that is actually South America, but it's also one of those that has spiked up and down. And then Petrolto Corp, which is OTC, and Zine Oil. And most of you already know about Zine Oil. And do your research. And if you don't have a lot to invest in, I always go for the cheaper stocks. Now with the OTC stocks, keep in mind, Fidelity is mostly free when trading certain OTC stocks. E-Trade is $4.95 to $6.95. TD Ameritrade and Charles Schwab is $6.95. And some of the OTC stocks may not be available on different platforms. Keep in mind what also could make oil stocks spike up. We had the prophetic word with Italy oil in Texas and about EU oil. $200 a barrel per oil. That's almost double from where it's at right now. Okay, so just kind of going over some of the other prophetic words concerning what some of the other prophets have said about oil. Several of those came from Robin, where he talked about an oil spill in the Gulf. That would cause prices to go up. Russia stopping the pipeline to do repair work. That would be another reason why gas prices would spike up, or the price of a barrel per oil would spike up. Prophet Solomon also has a prophetic word about a gas refinery explosion somewhere here in the United States, which she gave last year, which is supposed to be pretty destructive. Now, there have been some refinery explosions, but maybe not to the extent of what she actually prophesied. There was one yesterday, I believe, and then Texas had one about 8-9 months after she made that prophecy. But as far as the damage wise, I still think we could still see another refinery explosion. So when you're investing, I just want you guys to be careful. I'm not a financial advisor. You have to do your own research. So you can type in the ticker and research the companies. The price of oil is it's really going to affect everything. And this is going to trickle down to everything that we do on a daily basis, from grocery shopping to buying goods, things that we get shipped from other countries. Prophetically speaking, there's a lot that I see that is coming, and inflation is going to continue to get worse. We might get some relief for a short period of time. We do have the inflation numbers coming out on April the 12th. That's in about 2 weeks from today. And I expect a lot of hurt in the markets. And if Russia does everything that they plan on doing, we're going to see those high gas prices. So I do believe there's a reason why God showed us this, and that's why I put this document together so you guys can do your research and invest appropriately. If you've never traded oil stocks before, keep in mind, folks, these things go up and down. If we actually see $200 a barrel in oil, and we see gas prices around $8 to $9 per gallon, that actually might be the high. So one thing you have to learn is to be able to let go of certain stocks when they've reached their peak. Because oftentimes, even with Zine Oil early on when I first started to learn how to trade, I held on to Zine Oil and other oil stocks way too long. Now that I've taken time out to learn how to trade and try to buy on the low and sell on the high, I've had to learn how to let go. There's always this fear that grips you that, but what if they announce oil, or what if it keeps going up? You know, and there's always going to be opportunities. What goes up always comes down. So he also said he received the date April 7th. Now, that's about 5 days before the inflation numbers come out. So I don't know what that has to do with. Now, are we going to see $200 per barrel on April the 7th? And at that time, will some of these oil stocks skyrocket? So all of this remains to be seen. It seems like it's a lot of scary stuff going on, folks, but this is the wealth transfer, and it's not going to come easy. We never said that it was going to be easy. We're going to be, everything is going to be rosy. And America itself, and the way I look at certain things, America itself has to be shaken. Because if we were to receive the wealth transfer in the state of America where it is now, things will get worse. Part of the wealth transfer is like the Joseph moments, right? Storing up and preparing yourself for a time of famine. And that's what we're doing in several different ways. We're storing up on our food and our items. We're preparing ourselves and taking care of our family in that way, preparing for the future. But we're also investing for the wealth transfer. This is just another part of a wealth transfer that's going to take place. We heard Apostle Graves talk about people were celebrating, tossing their hats up in the air because people were millionaires because they had invested in oil. So you guys look up each of the different companies. Your comments down below in the description too as well if you find any other oil companies that deal with natural gas or oil that's not on this list, right? And they are from Texas, right? We got to make sure that these companies deal with Texas. Now, this document will be down below in the description. Now, one of the things I want to share with you guys, even if you trade on Fidelity or E-Trade or TD Ameritrade or Charles Schwab or mostly any other platform, pre-market trading does not start on those platforms as earlier as some other platforms. So right here, I do have the Webull link, which you can click on. It's also down below in the description. And also MooMoo, which I haven't decided if I liked it yet. I've just been using it for a week. But so far, I still like Webull better. Now, this is the difference. A lot of times, these stocks will go down very low during pre-market hours. And sometimes they take off during pre-market hours. And that's at 4 a.m. in the morning. So if you put in a buy, let's say you put in a buy limit order for Canberra Energy, and you put it in, say, for 80 cents. Put it in on Webull, right? Then you turn around and put it on Fidelity. Well, if Fidelity doesn't start pre-market trading till, I think, 6 or 7 o'clock, and the price could reach your point where you want to buy it at, but your order won't kick in because pre-market trading isn't open for Fidelity at that time. But that order on Webull will, because they're one of, 3 or 4 companies that actually have 4 a.m. Eastern Time pre-market trading and even after market hours trading. Some of these platforms actually cut off pre-market trading like at 6 p.m., whereas Webull goes until 7 p.m. There's opportunities to get in as far as buying on the low and also selling on the high at certain time periods, especially if you are swing trading any of these stocks. So I just wanted to present this to you guys. Make sure you do your research. Put your comments down below in the description. Tell me what you think about these. That's all I have for today. So I thank you guys for listening. God bless. TC out.